On this particular day of his great adventure, Father Bush went on a journey back in time to the early months of May 1943. This part of England was rather as you see it here today, quiet and peaceful. The birds were singing in the air, and the Snake Pass Road wound its way down to the picturesque Derwent Valley with its calm waters and some rather interesting dams. For those living in the vicinity of these dams in early 1943, the peace was about to be shattered by the roar of Lancaster bombers, suddenly appearing in the valley flying at an incredibly low altitude of only 60 feet above the waters of the dam. No one knew it at the time, but the crews of those Lancaster bombers were practicing for a special and very dangerous raid on Germany's Ruhr Valley, which came to be known as the Dam Busters Raid. The squadron was based at RAF Scampton, about 5 miles north of Lincoln. Led by 24-year-old Wing Commander Guy Gibson, a veteran of over 170 bombing and night fighter missions, 19 Lancasters flew across Europe at low level under the cloak of darkness on the 16th of May 1943. The task was codenamed Operation Chastise, and it was up to the brave men of RAF 617 Squadron at Scampton to drop specially developed bouncing bombs invented and developed by a brilliant engineer named Barnes Wallis. Wallis's initial idea was to drop a 10-ton bomb from an altitude of about 40,000 feet. This idea was part of the earthquake bomb concept. However, at that time, no bomber aircraft was capable of flying at that altitude with such a heavy payload. A much smaller explosive charge would suffice if it could be exploded directly against the dam wall below the surface of the water. But the major German reservoir dams were protected by heavy torpedo nets to prevent such an attack. Wallis's breakthrough overcame this. A drum-shaped bomb, essentially a specially designed heavy depth charge spinning backwards at over 500 RPM, dropped at a sufficiently low altitude at the correct speed, would skip for a significant distance over the surface of the water in a series of bounces before reaching the dam wall. Its residual spin would run the bomb down the side of the dam to its underwater base. Using a hydrostatic fuse, an accurate drop could bypass the dam's defenses and enable the bomb to explode against the dam. Bomber Command wanted a complete bomb damage assessment as soon as possible. Therefore, the commanding officer of 542 Squadron was informed of the estimated time of the attacks. One of the squadron's photo reconnaissance Spitfires took off from RAF Benson at 0730 hours and arrived over the Ruhr Valley immediately after the first light. These photographs were taken of the breached dams and the huge floods. The pilot later described the experience. He said, "When I was about 150 miles from the Möhne Dam, I could see the industrial haze over the Ruhr area and what appeared to be a cloud in the east. On flying closer, I saw that what had seemed to be a cloud was the sun shining on the floodwaters. I looked down into the deep valley which had seemed so peaceful 3 days before on an earlier reconnaissance, but now it was a wide torrent. The whole valley of the river was inundated with only patches of high ground and the tops of trees and church steeples showing above the flood. I was overcome by the immensity of it all. Initial German casualty estimates from the floods when the dams broke were 1,294 killed. Later estimates put the death toll in the Mona Valley at about 1,600, including people who drowned in the flood wave downstream from the dam. Dropping a 4-ton drum-shaped bomb at exactly 60 feet above the level of the water and at an airspeed of 240 miles per hour called for expert crews and required intensive nighttime and low-altitude flight training. In terms of men and machines, it was a costly mission. In total, 53 of the 133 aircrew who participated in the attack were killed, a casualty rate of almost 40%. Today, only 4 crewmen from that daring raid are still alive, and on the German side, only 6 still survive today to remember the experience of the dam busters.